Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of the program, Cac Weekly, a weekly program that keeps you abreast on the activities and achievements of the Corporate Affairs Commission. My name is Amina Jibril. Our focus today is CAMA 2020, its implementation and impact on businesses. But we will be right back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In its continued stride to be a world-class companies registry, the Corporate Affairs Commission reenacted its act this year. Signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari on 7th August 2020 and the Gazette officially received by the CAC from the clerk to the National Assembly on 19th November 2020. The CAMA 2020 is not only a game changer in the regulatory landscape, but it is embedded with tremendous potentials to enhance and facilitate trade and investment in Nigeria. The Act is a culmination of the collaborative effort by various stakeholders, including the Corporate Affairs Commission, the Nigerian Bar Association, Section on Business Law, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, and the Nigerian Economic Summit Group under the National Assembly Business Environment Roundtable. Set for implementation in January 2021, CAMA 2020 has 870 sections which are classified into chapters under Parts A to G. Part A deals with the composition and administration of the registry which functions as a regulator. Part B has 29 chapters which stipulates the life cycle of companies from their incorporation through to liquidation. Part C and D have 11 and 2 chapters respectively and set out provisions that govern limited liability, partnerships and limited partnerships. Parts E and F reprised sections on the registration and regulations of business name and incorporated trustees, with a few changes outlined in chapters 3 and 7 respectively. Part G introduces the quasi-judicial body. An important milestone for the business sector, CAMA 2020 removes substantially a significant number of bottlenecks that prevent market penetration by SMEs and significantly reduced the reporting obligations and requirements that may ordinarily inhibit the growth of SMEs. The Registrar-General and CEO of the Commission, Alhaji Garba Abubakar, sheds more light on the CAMA 2020, its implementation and potentials for the business community.
Alhaji Garba Abubakar, Registrar-General, Corporate Affairs Commission, many thanks for joining us once again on the program.
Thank you for having me.
For the purpose of those who are just watching us now, or the first time they hear of CAMA 2020, help us understand what CAMA 2020 is all about.
Thank you so much. CAMA means Companies and Allied Matters Act that was enacted and assented to in 2020. It actually repealed the Companies and Allied Matters Act 1990, which before its repeal was cited as Chapter C20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. So the law has repealed and replaced the All Companies and Allied Matters Act. It is the principal legislation governing the formation, management, administration, and winding up of companies in Nigeria. And it is the same law that established the Corporate Affairs Commission and vested it with the powers to register companies and establish offices in all the states of the Federation. So this is, in a nutshell, this is what CAMA 2020 is, and this is what we are referring to.
All right. Now that it has been gazetted, what next?
Yes, gazetting is one aspect. Implementation is another aspect. The gazetting means the law has been officially registered and set to take legal effect. As you may know, the law was supposed to take effect immediately after it was assented to by Mr. President. But because the Authentication Act requires that the clerk to the National Assembly should gazette the law, should take steps to gazette the law. And until it is gazetted and given a citation number, because they have to enroll it at the Supreme Court among the laws of the Federation of Nigeria before it can be recognized by our courts and enforced. We received the official gazette on the 19th precisely of November. And as we have always said, you cannot implement this law with 870 provisions covering 5 different legal entity types using a manual system. So you need a technological solution that will drive the implementation of this law. The law has brought a lot of changes. There are 258 new provisions. 91 of them were modification of some of the former provisions, while 167 of the provisions are completely new. And we are going to have 2 new legal entity types, limited partnership and limited liability partnership. So all these things will require a lot of changes on the existing system. In the last 1 month, we've been engaged in user acceptance tests in-house because most of the new changes have been built, they have been reflected on the application. We were just waiting for the Gazette to come out. Now that the Gazette has come out, we are going to release our implementation timeline so that our customers and other stakeholders will know when they will start registering a one-man company, when they will start registering issued share capital. So we are targeting 1st of January as the effective date for the implementation of this new law. From that date, all new registrations and post-registration that presently are not available electronically, because at the moment, if you want to change your directors or increase your share capital or file for registration of charges or appointment of receiver or liquidator, you have to send these documents to CAC, either by courier or you send it by email. The platform does not allow for those filings electronically. So the new system, the upgraded system, will accommodate all these changes. In fact, it will cover the life cycle of the company, from registration to dissolution. So anything in between, up to the final stage that the company will cease to exist, will be done electronically. So what we are trying to do is, we are going to put a video clip of how this new system can be used on our website. This will be done within the next 2 weeks. And we will also organize, but that will happen after we've started the implementation. We will organize stakeholder forum in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kano, Abuja, and other locations where we have significant number of customers to show them how this application works. And we recognize that it's possible by the time we are cutting over to the new system, we may still have some pending applications that have not been concluded. So what I want to assure our customers is we are not going to suffer any data loss. Whatever they have entered on the old system, they can continue the application using the new system. The only difference is the requirements will change, because the present requirements are easier and simple, while the new requirements under the new law are more extensive, because you have requirements for disclosure of person with significant control, but other things have been simplified. Then secondly, at present, where an association is being registered as incorporated trustee, or a company limited by guarantee, or any name that has a restricted word, such as national, federal group, or holdings, a customer requires the consent of the Registrar-General before he could proceed. That consent is processed separately. Under the new system, the whole process is integrated. So the only thing you will need to do is you pay the fee, we call it reservation code fee, and you will front load all the information, unlike now where you send this request by email. And after the consent is issued, you still have to log in and get the name approved. With the new system, the two processes have been collapsed. You don't need to go and apply separately to get the name reserved. Okay. So once you apply...
It's going to be a straightforward thing.
Yes, it's going to be straightforward. The only difference from other registration is you have to front load all the information. If a name requires a reservation code, at the point of applying for the name, we must know who the directors or the trustees and the constitution of the association, where it is an application as incorporated trustees. Then you must provide all the details about the directors and officers, as well as their means of identification. So the moment the name is approved, all you need to do is to just go and pay the registration fee, and you get your certificate. Secondly, we are not going to be issuing paper documents to customers any longer.
Once the implementation starts?
Yes, we won't be issuing any paper document to our customers. We will send them electronic copies, including our certificates. We will send them e-certificates with a QR code. They can download it, print, and give it to their client. If it is the client himself that actually, if it is the owner himself that applies to register, he may decide to store it or he may print it. Because of concerns about data privacy and the right of individuals to protect their personal information, the law has provided a right for anybody that is interested on certain grounds to apply to restrict his residential address. It's possible the person may be under some form of threat, and because our register is a public register, the law says any member of the public can obtain information from the register. So if his address is exposed, it may endanger him. So the law now allows that that person may apply and give the grounds upon which he wants to support his application for the restriction. And CAC, he still has to provide the information, but that information will not be publicly available. So in its place, he will have his service address, which will be different from the residential address. The law has also brought a new innovation on certain disclosure to support the anti-corruption initiative of the government in terms of disclosure of persons with significant control.
We did hear when the president, signed, he did say that CAMA 2020 will help a long way in fighting corruption. So tell us the relationship between CAMA 2020 and the fight against corruption.
Okay, thank you so much. Even before the new law was signed.
But before you answer that, a lot of people watching you will say, what is the place of the old companies in the new law? A company that is registered like 10, 20 years ago, what happened to that company?
No, you see, when a new law replaces a former law, it recognizes the validity of the former registration. The law has provided transition period. If you had done some things under the former law, and the new law has now provided for a different approach, like the issue of issued share capital. Under the former law, the law provided for authorized share capital, and the law gave the option to the company to issue only 25%. But the new law has said everything must be issued. So, which means if you have any unissued shares before the commencement of this new law, immediately the law commences, you have, I think, a window of 6 months within which to issue the remaining shares. So these are some of the changes. The law recognizes that you are transiting from one law to the other. Otherwise, if you are going to say, okay, every company must register, it's not going to be possible. We have companies that have been here since 1920, 1925, and they're still in existence. So, and you can see the changes in the law from 1912, when we had the first companies ordinance to date. We have about 3 to 4 different legislations.
Okay, so they have a 6-month window.
Yes.
And after that?
After that, there will be penalty.
Okay.
There will be penalty.
What's the penalty?
I can't remember precisely, but we have a daily default penalty depending on the company. There are certain transactions that have a fixed penalty. Some have a daily default penalty. So the law has provided circumstances under which when a company defaults, the penalty will be calculated against the company and every officer of the company.
Okay, so the relationship between CAMA 2020 and the fight against corruption. People will say, a regulatory agency, what business does it have to do with fighting corruption?
In fact, even before CAMA 2020, all the successes recorded on the fight against corruption would not have been possible without the support and the active involvement of CAC. Companies are the principal vehicles through which these corrupt activities are carried out. There's a limit to what an individual can transact in terms of financial transaction. There's a limit to what an individual can hide. Companies are usually used to launder because they are disguised as providing services or engaged for procurement purposes, and monies are channeled through these companies. And you need to know who is behind this company. ICPC, EFCC, police, on a daily basis will provide information on some of these registered entities as to who are the officers, whether on their financial statements, on their shareholding, and other transactions, because this is the only public registry of companies in Nigeria. And the law requires every company, when they make any changes after registration, to come and file with us. At the end of the financial year, they are required to come and file their financial statements. So these investigation agencies will need this information. They actually require this information in their investigative activities. And coupled with our OGP, Open Government Partnership Commitments, and the Extractive Industry Transparency International Commitments, Nigeria has subscribed to the membership of these two international bodies, as well as the Financial Action Task Force. And part of the requirement for this membership is every country that is a member of this organization should establish a register of beneficial owners. For us, we are not narrowing it to beneficial ownership. We decided to adopt a wider concept of persons with significant control, consistent with the United Kingdom model. So it's not just about owning shares in a company or having voting rights. It goes beyond that. If by virtue of your position in the company or outside the company, you can control the appointment of majority of the directors, or you have some form of influence or control over the management of the company, you qualify as a PSC. Then in respect of shares and voting rights, we have a lower threshold than what they have in the UK. UK has a threshold of 25%. But for us, the disclosure requirement is actually 5%. So if you have 5% of the shares, at least 5% of the shares, or 5% of the voting rights in a company or limited liability partnership, you must provide this information at the point of registration. And whenever there is any change on your status, either you have sold these shares to somebody else, or you have acquired more shares beyond the threshold of 5%, you must file the information. And also, when you cease to be a PSC, you must update the register. And also, at the point of filing annual returns with the CAC annually, you must disclose this PSC information. So this will serve as a necessary check because it will make it easier for our anti-corruption agencies, when they are investigating, to know who is holding the shares. And false declaration or misstatement is sanctionable, because if you make any false statement, you are liable to have imprisonment for 2 years. Okay. And a fine that will be determined by the court.
We understand that some of the new injections are the limited liability partnership and the limited partnership. So give us a breakdown of how, the requirement for those companies to be registered.
Yes, limited partnership and limited liability partnerships are not companies. Although a limited liability partnership has the powers of a natural person, it is actually a legal entity in its own right. It can sue and be sued in its own name. Unlike a limited partnership, which is like a business name, the only difference is you have two partners, you have dormant partner and an active partner. So you have somebody who has limited rights in the partnership. And these are business concepts that are globally known, but that have not been in our law for a long time. So this is to provide a wider option. You have the option either to register a company, a business name, a limited partnership, or limited liability partnership. And for limited liability partnership, even though it will have a legal personality, it won't have shares like companies. It's a partnership with rights and obligations properly defined by a partnership agreement, but it has its own legal personality. It can sue and be sued in its own name, unlike a limited partnership, which cannot sue and be sued.
Let's go to the controversy for religious bodies and NGOs. Is there any cause for alarm?
I couldn't understand the hula actually. Because in the first instance...
But there are legitimate concerns, aren't they?
Well, people have a right to express concern. But most of these concerns were expressed without full appreciation of the law and the best practice. We are not doing anything new as a country. And as I have said severally, one distinguishing feature of associations registered under incorporated trustees is the registration is not mandatory. So if you don't want to subject yourself to rules and regulations of a regulatory body, don't register. Operate your organization according to your own standards. If your congregation or your members will believe you and deal with you and donate money to you as an individual without registration, so you are set to go. You don't have to come to CAC. But if you choose to register, government is interested in what you do, whether what you are collecting as donations are applied for the purposes intended, whether you are operating in line with your constitution, because every association, every organization, whether religious or social or development, must have a constitution that specifies its objectives and the way and manner its funds will be applied. So you can't just collect money from members and use it for something else. And the major concern has been in relation to the powers of the commission to suspend trustees on certain grounds, because the law is clear. You can't just suspend somebody because you don't like his face. It's only on grounds of misconduct or mismanagement or fraud, or to protect the property of the association, or to ensure proper application of the property, or in the public interest. It's only on those grounds that CAC can suspend. And suspension is not dismissal. Even where, and you cannot suspend without an inquiry, and the person has to be heard.
Should Nigerians be suspicious? Why did it take the commission 3 decades to come up with a new law?
It's not our fault. The cumbersome process of lawmaking has contributed. We have a law reform commission established by law. That's their statutory responsibility. It's their responsibility to review legislations from time to time and recommend changes. Around 2010, the Nigeria Law Reform Commission initiated the process of amending CAMA. We were part of the process. We actually made submissions, extensive submissions. And at the end of the day, the draft bill was presented, but it didn't see the light of the day. This new initiative was initiated by us. We had, for about 10 years, we had an in-house committee that has been refining this law. We didn't get the opportunity to get this done until now. And it was actually a collaborative effort. We must thank the Presidential Enabling Business Council, because they actually drove the process in conjunction with the National Assembly Business Roundtable, which is a joint initiative between the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and the National Assembly. So that was actually what helped to drive this process. I just came in 2004, and barely 15, 16 years in the commission. So I will not account for what happened before that time.
But you're taking the credit.
Because I was part of the process. So I deserve to take the credit, actually,
Okay.
because I was part of the process. Right from the onset of the amendment, I've been part of the process. Yes.
As we wind down, what does implementation of the CAMA 2020 means for businesses in Nigeria?
Yes, I just want to assure them that the enabling environment for registration and update of information with the CAC will be much easier now, because we are going to have an end-to-end electronic system. You no longer have to come to CAC for anything. You don't even have to mail your documents to us. You can sit in your office or your home and do your transactions. And one thing we're going to do differently is every entity will have its unique account, electronic account. They may choose to use it, or they can still engage the services of lawyers, accountants, or chartered secretaries. And for small companies, the benefits are enormous, because you are no longer required to submit audited financial statements. You are no longer required to appoint an auditor. You are no longer required to have a secretary, unlike the former law that made it mandatory for every company to have a secretary. So a lot of things have been simplified. We will ensure that this law is implemented to the fullest by providing the enabling technological solution that will drive the implementation of the law.
Alhaji Garba Abubakar, many thanks indeed for your time, as always.
Thank you for having me.
And that is the size of our package for this week. We do hope you enjoyed watching. For comments and inquiries, please take advantage of our social media handles and helplines. On Twitter, it is at CAC Nigeria 1. On Instagram and Facebook, it is Corporate Affairs Commission. Our email is cservice@cac.gov.ng. Our website is www.cac.gov.ng. And our helplines are 081-822-99016 or 081-822-98971, 090-8740-1598, 090-8740-1599, and 090-8740-1600. Do join us next week for another interesting edition of the program. Same time, same station. From me, Amina Jibril, and the whole team here, it is bye for now.